my support for reforms that will reorganize the governance, the accountability, and the operations of the Sewerage and Water Board. This will not be dissimilar from work that we did on the NOLA Business Alliance, the NORD Commission, or the Public Belt Railroad. And so that we are, therefore, advising that the board be reduced from 13 members to 9, that the mayor will be on the board, 2 members of the Board of Liquidations, and 6 appointees to be nominated by the university presidents. These members will have related experience in finance, business, engineering, law, public health, and consumer advocacy. The council members will be removed and will perform their oversight function that they perform now, because everything that goes through the Sewerage and Water Board has to come through the council, and they will serve their vital oversight role under the committee structure that currently exists, unless the council chooses to do it in another way. The terms of the board members will be reduced from 9 years to 6 years, and board members will have term limits. As it relates to accountability, the Sewerage and Water Board will develop a Sewerage and Water Board STAT program like we have with NOLA STAT, which would report at operations meeting to track the performance of the Sewerage and Water Board and its customer service. The Sewerage and Water Board will adopt the city's transparent contracting process for professional services, stating once and for all that the board, while it has a fiduciary responsibility, is not in the business of contracts. And the contracting process that I set up by executive order is one that the Sewerage and Water Board should follow. Sewerage and Water Board members must abide by state financial and ethics disclosures like all other board members do. We believe that this is going to produce better results. As you think about this rate increase, which will take effect over an 8-year period of time rather than 5, be much lower rather than higher, what it will do is provide the seed capital necessary to draw down federal funds that will result in a $3.3 billion capital improvement program. It will include 600 projects relating from wastewater that is involved in compliance with the consent decree. We will also train the next generation of leaders in the city of New Orleans. Economic analysts say that this is going to produce 26,000 jobs while we are reconstructing the infrastructure of the city. There will also be the much demanded coordination between regarding drain line repairs and street repairs. Sewerage and Water Board and the Department of Public Works, as we speak, are now sitting in the same room together working on projects that are common to both of our organizations. And you will also see major customer service improvements through electronic metering, online account management, and work order tracking. It is time to act on this reform. This can has been kicked down the road by generations of New Orleanians, and it has put the city in a very vulnerable place. If we wait, we will risk a failure, or the situation is going to get worse. It's not going to get better. Unfortunately, there is no good time, but the time is now. But before we do that, and before the council considers that rate increase, I wanted to commit to the public that this organization is going to be reformed from a government perspective and from a management perspective. The process by which this will happen, it's a 2-step process. It has to be done legislatively. So now you see behind me state representatives and senators who have agreed to work with us on this issue. And then after that, it has to go through a charter change, which then has to go through the city council, and then has to go through a vote of the people. So this governance change process, which is going to begin today, has to move through the legislative session, which is, of course, early next year, and then shortly thereafter the council process. In the meantime, we will get to work in the Sewerage and Water Board implementing these reforms that I've spoken about that do not require a governance change, and we will be back to speak with you in more detail about the merits of the rate increase when that matter comes before the council. I anticipate that that's going to happen in about a month. So with that, I thank you all for your time and attention, and I wanted to ask Ray Manning, who is the president pro tem of the Sewerage and Water Board that's helped lead this effort on the Sewerage and Water Board, to speak, after which council member at large Jackie Clarkson will speak, and then we'll follow the roster as he's designated. Ray Manning, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of the board members who are present, Dr. Beverly Wright, Marion Bracey, and Mr. Pillier, we just want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your leadership in this effort. We now begin the serious work of undertaking these efforts. And we want to let you know that we're ready and able to do that. And again, we're looking forward to this next year of activity. Thank you very much.
On behalf of the City Council, especially myself, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. I've waited over 20 years for this. The council people don't belong on the Sewerage and Water Board. We don't have the expertise, and we don't have the time. This requires a commitment of someone with an expertise and an awful lot of time that will be a part of the governance. This is one of the very few agencies that can be governed very well by a board, the right board, and play a major part in the redeveloping of what the Sewerage and Water Board will be tomorrow. This is a major, major revolution, and it's critically important that we get it right. The fact that the appointees will be vetted through the Board of Liquidation and college presidents gives it public transparency, and we need to all be encouraged that this is the first time we've been able to do it in the 20 years that some of us have tried. I'm very grateful to all of you here that have made a part of it, that have helped make it possible, and especially to the legislative delegation, because this will be their cross to carry. And and we've tried it in the past, and it was less easy there. Thank you all for your leadership. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Jackie. Senator Morrell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to begin first by thanking the mayor for his leadership on this issue. This is not something we took upon lightly. We've been dealing with the potential for reform for over 2 years, and it is an important step in building consumer confidence in stuff like a rate increase. I appreciate the mayor's efforts to have reciprocity and reform insofar as when you look at the fact that we have increased rates, we have needs that have to be met through a rate increase. Business consumers as well as residential consumers throughout our city need to feel like this is going to be a board that takes its job seriously and really is one step further in fighting that culture of corruption which has kind of tainted the city. And the Sewerage and Water Board historically has been a nexus for that, and this will be our definitive answer to not having that ever happen again. So I appreciate the mayor's leadership on this issue, and I look forward to carrying this forward in the legislature.
Thank you. And Representative Leger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, colleagues, for being here and friends. And certainly I think what's important to note today is what Council Lady Clarkson referenced, and that is the time and dedication necessary for this board to operate the way that it should. And certainly I think all of us join together in commending the service that those who currently serve on the Sewage and Water Board have given to our city and hopefully will continue to give in the future. This important legislation, I think, is about much more than that. It's about establishing a way to appropriately measure the outcomes that we expect from our Sewage and Water Board, and I think that this legislation will go a long way to establish that. It will also, as Senator Morrell referenced, create the opportunity for enhanced confidence from the people of the city of New Orleans as we go to our partners at the federal level, our partners at the state level, and continue to work with local government to make sure that our Sewage and Water Board and our city has the resources necessary to provide for this important security need for the people of our city. This is a vital and important service that's provided to both businesses and homeowners, and we've got to make sure that each step of the way the resources are there, the public confidence is there, and the particular skill level is there to be able to deliver what's necessary for all the people of the city of New Orleans. And so I thank the mayor for his leadership and his team for continuing to work to make this legislation the way that it needs to be. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Jeffrey.
On behalf of Gary Solomon and the task force, over 30 community leaders and organizations that were convened as a result of leadership of Mayor Landrieu, we thank you for the opportunity to be part of this conversation. We were convened a long time ago to look into reforms that could be combined with any rate increase to ensure that the citizens of New Orleans saw a successful return on their investment. And we feel like the governance reforms that are offered today will achieve that goal. They position the City of New Orleans and Sewage and Water Board to be better conveyors of water and, more importantly, better managers of water for the City of New Orleans. It lays an important foundation for the hard work ahead to realize the return on the citizens' investment, which is a more integrated stormwater protection, safe drinking water and wastewater treatment, and reliable power to move all that water along the way. So we thank you for the opportunity to weigh in and our continued work ahead.
Good.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. All right. Anybody else? Any other elected officials? All right, just finally, let me say that besides tasking the current leadership and staff of the Sewerage and Water Board with doing an analysis, the Bureau of Governmental Research also did a robust analysis, which I would commend to you, that was written by Janet Howard and her staff. And on top of that, what Jeffrey just mentioned to you was really an outside third-party analysis by 30 business leaders and our organizations. All of them basically said two things: that a rate increase is inevitable and absolutely necessary if we want to protect the health and the safety of the citizens, and you have to change the governance structure of the Sewerage and Water Board so that you can assure the people of New Orleans that the rate increase and the money will be invested well and spent well. Today is the first step, and the first step is governance and restoring confidence to the people of New Orleans. This is a fairly far-reaching proposal. As Councilmember Clarkson has so ably reminded us, we have tried this many, many, many times in the past. But I think that you can see from the people standing around me today that we have council support. We have the support of legislators and senators. We have the support of the business community to structurally change the organization. And it's time. And it's important so that the public knows that we are very serious about this. We'll be open and transparent. And the resources that we're asking them for so that we can invest in their safety will be spent and invested in the appropriate way. So I thank all of you for the amount of time and effort that you spent. It has been huge. Each one of these individuals, as I'm looking around, has spent a lot of time thinking about this and making sure that we get this right. This is a complicated process. This is the first step. As I said to you, the governance reform will follow a very similar path that the reform measures in the public belt follow, because it requires both changes to the city charter and changes to the state legislature, and those the timing of that is already circumscribed by law. And so you can expect to see a piece of legislation that outlines what this reorganization will look like. Subsequent thereto, should it pass the legislature, the council will then do their part if it's impossible for them to do it beforehand, and have this in place over the next 6 to 8 months. In the meantime, we will come back to you in the coming weeks to speak about the reasoning for the rate increase that all of these reports have said is inevitable, and explain in detail what that's going to look like and what impact it's going to have. So I thank all of you very much for the work that you have done and the work that you're about to do, because, as I said, this is just the beginning. All right.
Go ahead, Ben. Has FEMA actually approved the hazard mitigation money for the power plant?
Yes.
When did that occur?
A month ago.
If removing the city council members also was to remove politics from the Sewerage and Water Board, why not follow BGR's recommendation to remove the mayor?
Because a lot of the feedback that you got from the public is you absolutely want a public-private partnership. And there's a very large segment of the population in the city of New Orleans that wants to make sure that somebody that is directly elected by them is on that board protecting their interest. What you will see in all of these things, and I encourage you to go back and look at the organizational structure of Public Belt, NOLA Business Alliance, and NORD, 3 reorganizations that are in our time. They have a balance of public and private, not-for-profit, so that all of the interests of all of the people of the city of New Orleans are protected. That is a model that worked back then, and so we didn't want to kind of recreate the wheel.
Anybody else?
Non-reform questions afterwards, or would you like to?
Sure, we can do that. About the tolls.
Yeah, so can we get a question, what the toll, they just did the recount, the tolls
And
have gone through by the narrowest of margins.
which, what, more narrow than 8?
16.
Well, so we got better.
Got that.
We're talking about we doubled our lead. We're talking about we doubled our lead.
Yes, they have, so they'll stay in place for the next 20 years.
Well, I understand that somebody is asking for a recount, which is fine. I think everybody ought to be really clear what the election results are, so that the election results are legitimate, so that's fine. I would say this about the tolls, much as we say about the Sewerage and Water Board. The opponents of the tolls raised very valid issues about the organizational structure of the Crescent City connection. It is the legislature's responsibility, which I am sure that they will attend to create an organizational structure that will be transparent and be accountable for every dollar that is raised. Having said that, it is critically important that that money be used to make that bridge safe and secure, and make sure the traffic flows freely, so that economic development in the city of New Orleans can, and in the metropolitan, can continue to flourish. And I have every reason to believe that the legislators who oppose this, along with the parish president in Jefferson Parish, will be able to have a meeting in the minds with those of us that were for it to make sure that an organizational structure is in place so that money is invested on behalf of the people in the metropolitan area of New Orleans. Again, another work in progress. Both sides, in my opinion, had very good points to make. Our position was don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think the public has now opined about it, and I think that it's just the first step. The second step is to create that organizational structure that will not engage in waste, fraud, or abuse, and make sure that that money is spent in the best interest of the people who pay the tolls and use the bridge.
Yeah, there is a consultant group named Threefold that's been implicated in a federal probe of former Mayor Megan. Apparently, under your administration, $2.4 million in contracts have been awarded to this particular company, even though it failed to pass sort of this city panel. The city panel said that it was unqualified. It got the projects anyway under Mayor Megan. They were renewed again under your administration. Is this something that requires a second look? Any sort of contractor reform underway at City Hall?
Yes.
Can you be more specific?
Well, first of all, that's the first I'm hearing about that. But secondly, if the process that we have in place, which you know is open and transparent, subject to public hearings, has created a result that's an unintended result like that, it absolutely warrants a much, much closer look.
Good, last one. You may have heard there's an ongoing controversy at the U.S. Attorney's Office. Any comment about that and how they should handle it? Do you think it's important to get it cleared up one way or the other in light of all the work that they've done in the last decade?
I do. I've had a great relationship with the U.S. Attorney. He's really been a spectacular partner. And I think that his work speaks for himself. I do think, like Senator Landrieu and both Senator Vitta have spoken to the issue, this creates a cloud that at the least needs to be cleared up. I know the matter's under investigation. We'll know more as the investigation goes on. But you absolutely want to clear it up so that that office can operate with confidence. And I think that we have to wait and see.
Thank you all.
All right.
Good job.
Anything else? All right.